In this video, this is going to be a redo talking about the ability transfer process with Monica and Ardudu, what you need to know, how to get these passes, and also how you can abuse this and why this is useful, especially in the late game when you are trying to farm for a lot of stuff and if you already have finalized affixes. If you're not familiar with a bunch of affixing, augmenting stuff, I do have playlists in the description or upper right hand corner. If you're new to affixing or if you want to get started, I advise you to watch the Affixing 101 playlist, which covers a lot of concepts and things you would want to know when it comes to affixing. Also, there will be another video in that upper right hand corner. It will pop up again, most likely, talking about the S-Class ability. There's a difference with the S-Class ability transfer and the regular ability transfer. Do not get these two confused. But depending on what you want to see, you can look in the description for that time skip. Let's get started. To get started, you will need to find Monica and Ardudu. Depends on which block you are in. Odd is Dudu, Monica is even. Pretty much the first floor of the shop area, you want to find them. You can't miss them, especially if you go near Zig. You will find the item lab attendant. When you do, you get to click on them, and guess what? It's going to be the third option, special ability transfer. Once again, do not confuse this option with the second and the fourth. The fourth is pretty much just S-Class abilities in themselves. The second one is your normal way to affix. The third one is you transferring abilities that are already finalized from a certain weapon and or unit to your new gear. Pretty much it's a carryover. Some MMORPG games have this function, some of them do not. But pretty much if you have certain stats on something, guess what? You can move that to something else. So let's say I have a particular 6-slot unit that has a bunch of affixes I want to try to transfer. So let's say I have this piece over here that has power 3, stamina 3, shoot 3, darkness soul, mutation 2, and technique 1. And I want to try to transfer onto this leg piece with these affixes. Obviously this is better because it's a 13-star rarity, it's at plus 10, it's a liberate unit, all that jazz. Now you might be saying, okay Morph, how are you gonna do this? Well, pretty much what I want to do is select the item that is going to be my main new piece. So if I want to have these affixes from this 11-star rarity unit, or 10-star rarity unit, excuse me, onto this 13-star, I will select the 13-star first and then select that 10-star rarity unit. Now, this should also hint at how you can abuse this later. I will mention all of this at that point. But for now, let's keep it simple and talk about the original function. Now, another thing is the S-Class abilities do stay on this piece already, because it's not you transferring the S-Class abilities, it's you trying to transfer the special abilities. So this will stay on your piece, it will not disappear. And because it's staying on my piece, I can only choose 5 out of those 6 abilities. Now if I want to, I can get rid of that and do this instead. And if I want to go with this, it's going to tell me this is going to disappear. If I accept this, you can see that it's going to say this is how many ability transfer passes you will use up. This is how much Meseta you are using. Do you want to do this? Note that if you hit yes, some abilities will disappear. Also note that your material item, that 10-star rarity unit, is going to lose all of its slots because it's going to carry those abilities to your new piece. So that is how you can carry your old abilities onto new gear. This is only with finalized affixes. If you have something you still need to tamper with, you cannot do a regular combination of affixes to get those final affixes. No, this is with finalized affixes. That's the original intent of this. This is the main point of you doing the special ability transfer. It's to transfer finalized abilities onto new gear, onto your new units and or weapons. Note that it does follow a couple of rules like units to units, weapons to weapons. But you notice that if I wanted to transfer, let's say, a bunch of abilities from a 5-slot to a 7-slot, I can do that in a way. Let us go to this example. Let's say this is at a 7-slot. I want to transfer abilities that are at a 5-slot over. I don't want to use anything, and I can carry on with this process here. you'll see that it won't be able to fill up the 6 and 7, but I will at least carry all the other abilities that I want onto this piece. So you can use this to your advantage, and it will help you save a bunch of money, especially with something like this. Understand that if you try to remake this certain formula, or like you try to fix this or something again, it's gonna be a pain in the ass to actually keep most of these abilities, because these are not cheap as abilities, and there's a lot of manipulation going on with these abilities. If you don't understand a bunch of fixing, then yeah, you might be confused at it and you might not know. But when you start to learn certain things and you understand how certain things work out and how to combine certain things as well, you understand that this piece is an annoying affix. But guess what? If I don't want to affix it, I can just do an ability transfer, keep all of these abilities, and just place it onto a new equipment. To get these ability transfer passes, you need to find a Recycle Shop NPC. They are located right underneath the physical entrance of Franca's Cafe. They are located in this same spot for both global and the Japanese PSO2. I'm playing on the Japanese PSO2. If I talk to them, I want to go to the limited class cube exchange, and you can see that you can get these ability transfer passes. So note that one, they have a cooldown. They have a monthly reset. You want to make sure that you empty this out or get these passes before that reset, because guess what? If it resets and you didn't get those 40 passes, you just miss your chance of getting 40 ability transfer passes. Secondly, when it comes to these conversions, it's going to be 1 pass equals 2 class cubes of some sort. Depends on which ability transfer pass you are going for. Thirdly, when it comes to the ability transfer passes, you can get 10 for each one of these different sections. So there's 10 here, 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. Guess what? 10 times 4 is 40 ability transfer passes. When it comes to getting the class cubes, there are ways to farm them. I already mentioned it in a certain video, upper right hand corner or in the description. Note that some of those methods are not available yet over in global, but you will get it in due time. When it comes to the first ability transfer pass exchange, you can trade in Hunter, Ranger, and or Forest class cubes. Why did it say and or? This depends on what you have, and this depends on how you want to do this exchange. As long as you trade in 20 of these very specific class cubes, you'll get your 10 passes. So if I want to, I could trade in 20 Hunter class cubes and get my 10 passes, or I could do a combination of 10 Hunter class cubes, 5 Ranger class cubes, and then 5 Forest class cubes to get my 10 passes. Ultimately, it falls on what you want to do and how you want to do it. Second conversion is pretty much Fighter, Gunner, and or Techer class cubes. Third one is Braver, Bouncer, and or Summoner class cubes. And the last one is Hero, Phantom, Etoile, and or Luster class cube. Other ways to get ability transfer passes would be doing a Rainbow Tokyo key and completing it, doing scratches for a support AC item scratch or a support Star Gem scratch, and getting the prize item as or bonus item, the pity item, as ability transfer passes. It's not a lot, but you know, it's a little bit of it. And then lastly, when it comes to getting some of these ability transfer passes, you would get them from a title. Note that the best way to get these passes in a huge amount would be through the Recycle Shop NPC. So make sure you keep tabs on the monthly cooldown and you make sure that you get these 40 passes. So you might be saying, okay, Morph, we're done, right? No, there's one more thing I need to talk about, and this one's gonna extend the length of this video. It's gonna go into why this is overpowered and how you can abuse this, because there is a way to add more slots to your finalized affix, but it's under certain circumstances. So before I go any further with this, if you want to see the original post talking about it and showcasing all these details, you can look in the description for the link. I'll pull this up for a quick look. But yeah, this explains a lot of things with the ability transfer process, and then it goes into details on what you can do. But guess what? This is a video, so I'm going to visually show you guys how to go about it. There is a weapon demonstration showing you guys some of the things that I talk about as well from a different clip. So how can you exactly go beyond what you have? I could tell you right now, like if I have a final affix, let's say let's look at this piece over here. This is pretty much a 6 slot, not counting that time ability, with Guardian Armor, Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, Effective Mark, Angra, and Crack 5. I could do a technical or the normal fix to try to transfer most of these abilities. However, the big one that I'm going to have an issue with at this moment is that Absolute Glare. Everything else I could try to transfer, well, yeah, everything else I could try to transfer, even that Mark ability if I have a Mark Receptor. But the problem is I'm adding a lot more to the original cost of this. So this ability transfer process, one, allows me to transfer this, but if I do it correctly in a certain way, I can skip slot numbers. If you're not familiar with upslotting, especially with the upslot penalty, upper right hand corner or in the description, I have a nitty gritty video where I do an in-game affix and try to get to certain slot numbers. I think for one of my demonstrations I got from a 0 slot unit piece all the way up to a 6 slot, and then the other demonstration I have in that video is a 4 slot to an 8 slot, and that one I struggled in. That video in itself is long because of that struggle. Yes, upslotting is a bitch, and to get to an 8 slot normally is going to be a huge pain in the ass unless you have so many multipliers to help you get to that stage. Even with a bunch of good junk abilities, it's still a goddamn gamble. But guess what? With the ability transfer process, you can skip numbers and you can force something that's originally at a 4 slot, 3 slot, even a 1 slot all the way up to an 8 slot if you know how to proceed forward. It was hinted at when I was talking about that conversion earlier with this piece, but let me mention it again. Understand that the S-Class special ability transfer is its own different thing. Because of this different function, and it being very specific towards S-Class abilities do not register with the special ability transfer. So if I were to try to do this affix over here, or this transfer, let's say I want to try to get certain abilities onto this 7 slot, and I have something like this, I can transfer all of the other abilities other than that S-Class ability onto this piece. Now, here's the problem. There's an empty slot. Yes, I technically kept all the abilities that I had on my prior unit and just moved on to this new unit piece. However, this is kind of a waste if you don't do anything with it. And you might be saying, wait a second, Mark. Well, what can you do so you can fill that up? Guess what? I don't know why they're allowing you to activate a pop item when you do this process. It's not supposed to happen, but guess what? It's happening, so you might as well pop something. This is why you would want some pop items, because not only do they give you a 100% guarantee, unless you upslot, they allow you to fill in a slot if you try to push it. So guess what? I just kept all the abilities that I had on my prior unit piece, but now I can also add a Mark Angra, and I just went from a 6 slot to a 7 slot. Yep, I went from a 6 slot to a 7 slot. Now for unit upgrades, it's going to be either a +1 or a +2 because of the existence of S-Class abilities. Understand that S-Class abilities are not being registered in this process, so depending on how many S-Class abilities a particular item can hold, you can actually do a +3, +4, or 5. Now, I have a weapon affix demonstration that shows how you can do this. Pretty much it's the weapon that I have right now over here in the Japanese PSO2. It has 5 S-Class abilities, it's at an 8 slot, and I have Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, and Ether Factor along with it. That's not what I had affixed prior to. I did an ability transfer with these 3 abilities alone and got it into this 8 slot. And you might be saying, wait, how did this... wait, aren't you supposed to be focused on that 8 slot morph? Yes, but it's reverse thinking, because the thing is, the ability transfer process does not limit you in terms of it has to be the same slot number or higher. The goal is to get whatever you had originally with the same slots or higher, depending on certain circumstances. For units, it's either +1 or +2. If I were to, let's say, work with this piece here, if I want to try to transfer, or better yet, let's work with something like this. I have 4 abilities on here. And let's say these are some abilities that I really want to keep. So what I want to do is try to get this unit piece to either a 5 slot or a 6 slot. Just add a +1 or +2. Now you can do a +2 if it is a 13-star rarity and the affix that you have does not have an S-class ability. So if I select this piece and I select that 4 slot, for example, guess what? If I decide to use a pop item, I just made that 4 slot with all those original abilities into a 6 slot. Now I can't really put another item into that slot 7. I would actually need to do another ability transfer process to try to do that. But the other problem is I'm putting it on a certain unit. So if you were trying to do a plus to it, what you need to do is, let's say you want to make that 4 slot, you want to keep these four abilities, and then try to get another ability on there so you can make it into a 5 slot, and then you want to try to then put it onto this particular unit piece that I was using, this 7 slot leg, wherever you are. Where the fuck are you? This, actually, it's over here. This 7 slot leg, for example, with all those abilities. What you would need to do, instead of actually going right to that particular piece, you need to go find another piece that you can shove this on. So if I were to say, I want to make this 4 slot into 5 slot, what I want to do is select something that's at a 5 slot, select that 4 slot, do an add ability, do all these final fixes here, and then once I finalize that, I want to do another ability transfer with those 5 slot abilities onto this leg piece over here, use another pop item, and then just get it to a 7 slot. But note that if you use a pop item, they cannot be the same grade. So if you use a certain mark ability, you cannot stack another mark ability on there. Once again, this kind of goes to the basics of certain basic 101 stuff. When it comes to you using a grand ability or like a grace ability and whatnot, you cannot mix them. So you can mix a mark and a grand together. So if you popped a mark to get to that 5 slot, guess what? You can pop a grand ability or a grace elegant ability to get from the 5 slot to a 6 slot. And if it's on a 13-star rarity unit that has an S-class ability, you just added another +1, so you get it to a 7 slot. Yes, talking about it does not equal jack shit. But anyways, that's something you gotta note. And I'm gonna show you the weapon demonstration where I got this 3 slot fodder with Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, and Ether Factor to get affixed into an 8 slot that didn't have those 3 particular abilities, but I have 5 S-class abilities, and it's at an 8 slot. Like, I just slapped on those 3 special abilities onto that weapon. You'll see that right now. And time for me to show you guys how to abuse this special ability transfer. Now, personally, I would not do it for a weapon, but for Guardian Soul, I'll do it, especially with these endgame affixes that I have. So I'm going to select this as the main piece, and then I'm going to transfer these abilities onto it. It's going to select all those 5 S-class abilities I already have. Going to transfer all these glorious abilities too. Going to do this. It's going to eat up 100 passes. I have 221. I don't mind. We're done. We are done with this. Guardian, Absolute, Ether. That's pretty much the weapon demonstration right there. You might be a bit confused. The goal is to just do a bit of reverse thinking here and there. Yes, you want to focus on that 8 slot and get that weapon to that 8 slot with all the S-class abilities on it, but the main goal is to also make sure that you get the finalized affixes at a certain number, so you don't need to spend as much. So since I had a Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, and Ether Factor at a 3 slot, I didn't spend as much compared to someone that might be spending a ton of Meseta on something that's already at an 8 slot. And guess what? I did the ability transfer process so I can get those 3 specific abilities onto my 8 slot weapon. Once again, with the normal affix method, one of the main rules is that you have to affix with the same number or higher. So if I try to do this as a normal affix, one, it's going to be a pain in the butt because I'm going to have to use a good chunk of receptors. And I also had to Gambo again because Guardian Soul is not at 100% with a Soul Receptor. Secondly, I also had to make Absolute Glare again. With the ability transfer process, I just skipped that, and I also used something that was originally at a 3 slot and just slapped it onto my 8 slot. Let me do another demonstration. It's going to be a unit, and then I'm going to conclude this video there. So, what I'm gonna do is work on that certain leg piece that I keep on pulling up, because guess what? Over here in the Japanese PSO2, this is the new current 13-star units you would want to aim for. Especially if you are spamming the Primordial Emergency quest. You might add more 13-star later, but this one is this is something. This is hard to get. There will be a fixed method to get these in due time with a new update that's gonna roll around in a couple days, in a week. So I actually got the leg piece to drop. What I'm gonna do is affix, or do the ability transfer process, get most of these abilities to transfer onto this, and then also add another ability to it. As you can see, I got Guardian Soul, Mana Reverie, Absolute Glare, Crack 5, and Artifactor on this unit piece, along with Skydance Boom. Now, I don't need to worry about the Skydance Boom. All I'm gonna do is do an S-class ability right after this process. But the point is to get these 5 abilities onto this, and also slap on another ability as well. So I'm going to select this piece. This is the main piece I want to try to move my units or my affixes onto. Then I'm going to select that 6 slot. So where are you? Where's my leg piece? You are down here. Make sure it's unlocked as well. I'm going to select this. And when I do this, I also want to use the add ability item over here. You might be saying, Morph, you could use the grand ability, can't you? I could. I'm debating about it just because, like, I want this to be an all-rounder in a sense. I would want to focus on all the different attacks as well instead of a grand. But that's just my opinion. That's my choice. So guess what? I'm gonna have that S8 ability with our attack up because it was already on this piece. I'm gonna select Guardian Soul. I think I'm on Absolute Glare, then Mana Rev, Artifactor, Mark, and then a Crack 5. So yeah, I just did a +1 upgrade without going through a normal affix. If I try to do a normal affix with all these abilities, like not counting the Mark Angra, if I had Crack 5, Artifactor, Mana Rev, Absolute Glare, and Guardian Soul, it would be impossible to keep both of these at the same time unless unless there's an update where they gave us a Reverie receptor or maybe a Glare receptor, but that's not out yet. So yeah, doing a normal fix to keep all these, yeah, that's not possible. I'm gonna lose one of these and I don't want to do that. But with this ability transfer process, I can keep them, and then I can also add a +1 to it, which is the Mark Angra. I'm gonna hit yes. It's gonna cost me that much. I need to pull out some money. But pretty much that's how you abuse the ability transfer process. If you're not familiar with it still, or if you need some sort of clarity on this damn thing, let me know in the comments. I will try to help you as much as I can. Most of you guys are getting it, especially if you ask the question. Most of you guys are actually doing it over here on the Japanese PSO2. I know that I told a couple of my pals about it that didn't know about this little function, and yeah, they were able to get to higher upgrades because of this. I do need to give a shout out to that person that posts that Reddit post, just because like I wouldn't know about this little thing. Actually no, I would have, just because I had to tour around with it, but then my friend mentioned like, oh yeah, you can abuse this. I was like, wait, what? How? And then I looked at it and then I was just confused to why Sega let this be a thing. Because normally, once again, in other MMORPGs, they do not allow you to do some sort of upgrade with you trying to keep this stuff. It's just you keeping this stuff. But I'm just surprised they allow you to use a pop item, which then allows you to cut corners and allow you to upslot. But hey, look, I'm not bitching about it. I'm not saying like, hey, say correct this shit. No, don't correct it. It's already too late. It's already maybe a goddamn year since you put this damn thing in. Now leave it as it is. But yeah, now I can do this affix over here. Oh wait, I'm gonna need more fucking money to actually get that S-class ability over there. So guess what? I will finalize this. It's gonna say that all abilities added to this material items will be lost. Let me make sure I didn't fucking leave anything behind other than that S8. That S8 is still gonna be on that Liberate. But all the other abilities they had will move over. So I got Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, Mana Rev, Artifactor, Mark, Angra, and Crack 5. And this is a 7 slot, so I'm gonna hit yes. We're gonna go through with it. Boom! Look at that beauty. And it has higher stats now compared to, oh my god, that is a lot higher than what I had on my Liberate. I wish I had a screenshot of what it was before, but most likely I can look at the recording and see that. And let us go over here. Once again, I do have a separate video talking about how to do the accessibility transfer and how to abuse that as well. But yeah, that is it for this video. Once again, if you have any questions about this damn thing, let me know, because I will help you and try and make sure that you understand how you can abuse this, because if you're an affixer, you want to make sure you don't spend as much. And if you want to save your money as well, your meseta, so you can spend it on something else, this is something you would want to know, just so you don't need to re-affix again, or you don't need to go through another hell session where you had to spend so much money and fucking your brain power to make final fixes. So I'm gonna go with this. Guess what? Now I have Skydance Boom with Guardian Soul, Absolute Glare, Mana Rev, Ethifactor, Mark Angra, and a Crack 5. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any question, comment, concerns, put it down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!